that we just published showing that animals at a Colorado lamb farm, a Whole Foods supply farm, were freezing in sub-zero temperatures. And so today, activists today are going to be calling attention to the findings of this investigation by getting into freezing conditions themselves. We have 15 brave activists today who are going to be getting into ice tubs, getting inside of tubs of ice, that's right, outside of Whole Foods here in Noe Valley in San Francisco, to elevate the findings of a recently published investigation. You can find the investigation video on Direct Action Everywhere's Facebook page showing that these lambs, these babies, because they are still babies when they're killed, they're slaughtered at just 6 months old, they were freezing. There were dead lambs frozen in the snow. Some of them had severe injuries, blood coming out of their mouths, and one lamb had her eyeball burst open from the cold. These are the kinds of things that Whole Foods is hiding from the public, and we need your help to expose it. So we're in San Francisco right now, heading to Whole Foods. We're going to be there very soon, and we need your help to expose the findings of this investigation even farther. So please share this live stream, comment and like this video and share it with your friends and help us reach more people. And also sign the petition at nomorefactoryfarms.com. We want more pressure on state governments to take action because these companies are lying to us. Whole Foods and other companies that perpetuate the humane myth are lying to us. They're telling us that there's a humane way to torture animals, and we know that's not true. And the authorities are too often supporting them. Right now, all these brave activists are trying to take action, and there's a line of police right here. Pacific Whole Foods Farm, a lamb farm in Colorado that supplied Whole Foods. And when activists did this investigation in Colorado, they found lambs freezing to death. Freezing. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine living in negative 10-degree weather with no shelter, with no one to care for you or keep you warm or safe? But investigators rescued one baby lamb who they found suffering, who they thought was going to be next to die. And they were able to take her out, warm her, get her veterinary care, and take her to a sanctuary. So I'm going to show you, we're here at Whole Foods.
Don't find the human law.
And activists are.
They have friends. They got scared. They want to live. No more repression. No more repression. There's no excuse. There's no excuse. There's no excuse. Money's no excuse. Labor's no excuse.
So if you're just joining us, we are at a Whole Foods in San Francisco taking action following the publication today of a new DXE investigation. This was done in Colorado at a Whole Foods supplying farm back in the winter when the temperature was negative 10 degrees Fahrenheit. Animals had died in the snow. They were being left there to suffer. We found animals thrashing, likely from hypothermia. We found animals with their eyeballs and limbs injured because of how frigid the air was. And so what we're doing today to draw attention to that is activists are out here, well, for one thing, with photos of these investigation findings, like Kitty's holding here a lamb who was found covered in feces in the snow, suffering with no one to take care of her. But another thing that we're doing today is 15 activists are actually going to be lying.
Their bodies, their lives, their freedom, their flesh, their eggs. Cows deserve to feel free. Pigs deserve to feel free. Animals deserve to be free. What do we want? What do we want it? And we're going to fight for it. In the parking lot to make sure to come up any sort of Whole Foods property from So do not stand on the whole property at all. Don't go into the parking lot. Even for our teachers, just a reminder, don't go into the parking lot either. Bring people to the sidewalk and have a conversation there. But yeah, Whole Foods is just really scared of the public finding out what's happening, so just remember to stand on the sidewalk. Thanks.
So that activist was reminding us about Whole Foods restraining order against DXC. If you don't know, Whole Foods is tired of DXC exposing the conditions at their farms and speaking the truth inside their stores. And they've filed a restraining order against the entire Direct Action Everywhere network to keep us out of their stores here in California. And obviously that's not going to keep us from taking action when we know that animals are being horrifically abused, when we have photo and video evidence that the authorities are ignoring. We know it's up to us to take action, and that's why I'll just show you again, all these activists are out here with photos from the investigation and with tubs that are about to be filled with ice to expose the conditions that these lambs are being raised in. And this, again, imagine spending your life outside in the snow in -10 degrees Fahrenheit, watching your friends around you freeze to death, watching your sick and diseased and injured friends experience that kind of suffering, and you yourself are getting sick, you're injured, and you have no one to care for you. That is the life that Whole Foods puts animals through on a regular basis. And that's why we are here to speak up today. That's why these activists are here taking action against Whole Foods cruelty and against this humane myth idea that there's a humane way to torture animals. So activists are right now setting up tubs with ice. And these activists are going to be lying in these tubs filled with ice, experiencing that suffering because they want to take action in solidarity with the animals.
I know.
So these activists are holding signs saying, "What is Whole Foods hiding?" Because Whole Foods does a great job marketing itself as an ethical and sustainable company and gets away with charging good-minded citizens with higher costs just because they claim to treat animals better. But Direct Action Everywhere has investigated Whole Foods farms across the country, and every single time we have found dead and sick animals. We find animals suffering without veterinary care. We find animals like this individual at a Whole Foods supplying lamb farm in Colorado, who was suffering in the snow, covered in feces, with no care. There were dead animals, and there were animals with severe injuries. There's a lamb there who was videoed, who could barely walk because 3 of her 4 legs had severe injuries, perhaps arthritis, perhaps sprains, but the video shows she can barely walk. And that's the kind of pain that they're living through on a regular basis. And one of the most notable findings, again, was that animals were freezing. They were freezing to death. They were experiencing hypothermia, and no one was there to warm them up until DXC investigators arrived, and they were able to rescue a lamb on the brink of death named Helen, who was rescued, taken to sanctuary. And today she's warm and she's safe and she's okay. But that's the life that all these activists want these animals to have. So if you want Helen to be an example for everyone else, we can make it happen. We can rescue all the animals, but it requires taking some creative action, getting out there, speaking truth to power, and taking action like this. So it's not your everyday thing to see activists taking action like this at a Whole Foods. Maybe when you're grocery shopping, you're not used to seeing things like this, but that's kind of the point. We want to draw attention, and we want people to think about the animals who are suffering in these facilities. So these tubs already have ice, and water's going to be dumped in as well. And then activists are going to be lying inside there for, as long as they can before their bodies just get too cold and they have to get out. And the thing is, these activists are going to be able to get out and dry off and warm up in the sun, because we are in sunny California, and that's a pretty nice day today. But in Colorado, where this farm was that supplied to Whole Foods, these lambs don't get to escape from the cold. That is just their day in and day out, morning, evening, night experience of suffering. So for us to be in ice for 10 minutes or so is really nothing compared to what those animals experience. But it is a small piece of solidarity. It is a small effort that we can make to take action in solidarity with those animals and to share their story. And so please, I want you to help us share their story by sharing this live stream. And if you haven't already, go to nomorefactoryfarms.com and sign the petition to stop creating places like this one where these individuals, these lambs, were suffering so much. We want a moratorium that says no more factory farms or slaughterhouses can be constructed in the state of California. And that is what we're working towards. And that's what all of these activists behind me are asking for as a first step. So obviously a lot more needs to be done to address animal agriculture. We need to take a lot of action like this one, a lot of creative action. But the first thing that we can do is to ask for no new factory farms or slaughterhouses to be built, leading to an ultimate ban. So here the water is going in. We're getting ready for action today. We've never done something like this before. It's a new experience, and I do hope everyone's safe today and everyone gets out of the ice water when they feel like they can't take it anymore. But I am proud of the activists like Aiden here, who's going to be taking an ice plunge and speaking up for the animals and drawing attention from Whole Foods shoppers and, of course, from this corporation. We want Whole Foods to know that we aren't going away until they stop torturing animals. We want Whole Foods to know that we are not going to be silenced by a restraining order. We are going to keep taking action for animals until all the animals are safe and not abused.
So after we got it all, we put the ice in this empty container so that it stays out of the sun, and then we'll put it on like right before.
It's not food! It's violence! It's not beauty! It's violence! It's not fashion! It's violence! Food is no kindness! It's not food, it's violence! Fair fight! Not honor! Fair life! Not honor!
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Fair
Yes, that's
life!
a point. Thank you.
Fair air! Not ours! Fair milk! Not ours! Fair honey!
So Priya's right here, who's going to be doing the ice bath. Priya, how are you feeling?
I'm feeling really good. I feel, I feel like this is a very small sacrifice to show solidarity with animals. We already had some people ask, hey, what's going on here? So, I was explaining to them that DXC investigators found animals freezing to death under below 0 degree
Chickens
temperatures.
deserve to be free.
And it's infuriating that we have the police
Turkeys
protecting
deserve to
these
be free.
corporations when the people who are protecting
What the
animals
hell?
are getting felony charges.
What's going
So
on?
where's their protection, right?
Are
So
we gonna
yeah.
fight for it?
Thanks, Priya. So we'll see Priya getting in the ice bath soon, as well as other activists that the tubs are getting filled with water. Let me go down and show you the other tubs as well. So there's another tub also over here getting filled with water and about to be filled with ice for these activists to get into. And again, we are exposing Whole Foods because they're deceiving the public. That's why these signs say, what is Whole Foods hiding? We know what they're hiding because we've been to their farms. Most people don't know because they believe the lies that are being sold to them. And of course, they'll believe them when they're sold so convincingly. When Whole Foods straight up lies to you, shows you fake photos and videos from farms that are not representative at all of the conditions that they actually supply from. They don't tell you that animals are freezing to death. They don't tell you that. They tell you that those animals are well cared for. And that's why we have to draw attention to this. We have to take action. And we have activists over there and over here who are about to get into these ice tubs as soon as they're filled with this ice.
Just like us! Just like us! Just like us!
And I'm sure this is a surprising scene for Whole Foods shoppers and management today, but we want them to think about the findings of this investigation. We want to draw attention to it, including from members of the public, even from the police who are lining the street over there. We want them to think about this too and think about their complicity in this system of violence.
Animals do not want to die.
Nico, are you practicing breathing exercises? Yeah. All right, good luck. So these are the tubs again and the ice that's going to be going in. Activists taking this action today, they want your support. They want you to share the findings of this investigation and to demand no more factory farms. So if you haven't yet, please go to nomorefactoryfarms.com. Sign our petition. You can learn more about our campaign there and the 40+ organizations that have signed on to that open letter. There are so many people who are ready to end this industry. There are so many people who are ready to transform our food system. We animals. We're living through a pandemic and we're learning the conditions that create diseases like this one. It's filth, it's crowding, it's this homogenous pool of animals who've been selectively bred to become so similar that diseases sweep through their population. These are the exact conditions that lead to new pandemics to be created. Scientists are confirming the very real risk that the next pandemic is brewing inside a US factory farm, and we're ignoring those signs. We're ignoring animal cruelty. We're ignoring the warning sign of COVID-19 that should be making us consider and change our current systems. So that's why we need people to take action, to put pressure on the system, because it's not going to change unless we demand it. It's clear now that scientists and experts and government leaders, they ignore the facts. They do not care that animal agriculture causes pandemics. They do not care about consumer transparency. Whole Foods does not care about anything but profit. Okay, they punish employees for wearing Black Lives Matter pins, and then they put up a sign on their door saying, racism has no place here. Yeah, that's like doing something racist and then saying I'm not racist. And they say we care about animals and we raise animals well. Meanwhile, they're letting animals freeze to death at their farms with no care whatsoever for their well-being. Whole Foods is lying to you. All these corporations want is money, and we need to take action ourselves, because we're not going to get transparency. We're not going to get animal welfare. We're not going to get animal rights unless we speak up.
Freezing to death outside of the Whole Foods supposedly to be in farm. So activists are going to enter ICAP to represent what these individuals went through and suffered inside of a Whole Foods plant. So Eden, Nico, and Curtis, if you're ready, you can get into the back and start pouring the ice in. What?
So our first activists are getting into the ice water here.
Ready for your cigarette, Eden? Thank you. Yep, we're good.
Hi everyone, my name's Aiden. I was part of the group who investigated this farm. I want to tell you about what we found. -10 degrees Fahrenheit. If you've ever experienced that kind of cold, you don't forget it. It's so cold, it hurts to breathe because the moisture in your nostrils literally freezes when you inhale. At -10 degrees Fahrenheit, your eyes burn from the cold. And ungloved hands go numb in less than a minute. Yet it was exactly -10 degrees Fahrenheit when we found thousands of lambs abandoned to suffer and literally freeze to death on a feedlot that supplies to Whole Foods. Because these feedlots exist to fatten these baby lambs up as quickly and as cheaply as possible, and that's all it's about, economics. Whole Foods decided it wasn't worth it to build any kind of shelter to protect these lambs from the cold. So they were left outside all day and all night through the winter in negative 10-degree temperatures, so cold most people can't even imagine it. Growing up in rural Colorado, I had a lot of experience with the cold. When I was a kid, I spent countless winter days playing outside with my brother and my mom and our dog Bella. We would bundle up 6 layers thick, go outside, build snow forts for epic snowball fights while Bella chased us around. Afterwards, we'd come back inside and huddle around the fire with hot cocoa. Those were 30-degree days, 40 degrees warmer than the temperatures we found these lambs in. 40 degrees is the difference between an 80-degree balmy day in the summer and a chilly 40-degree day in the winter. I'm getting a little cold here. I can remember another sub-zero night when I was a child. Out in the wilderness when we lost Bella. In the wilderness, we were looking for her. It was dark and painfully cold. But we spent hours out there looking for her because we knew that she wouldn't. Americans is that we consider animals to be part of our family. Whether you're white, black, or brown, no matter where you come from, all kinds of Americans have animals who they consider to be family members. And we believe we have a responsibility to take good care of them. We don't always agree about what that looks like, but I can tell you what it doesn't look like. It doesn't look like the lump in the snow that we saw from a distance as we approached, certain that that lamb was dead. Getting to her, finding out that she was still alive, but barely. She wouldn't be alive for long because her eyeball had literally burst open and oozed down her face because the fluids inside of it froze. It doesn't look like what's happening to countless animals on every animal farm and slaughterhouse in this country every day. If you treated the animals in your family the way these corporations treat the animals under their care, you would go to prison. But that is exactly what's happening on Whole Foods suppliers every day, criminal animal cruelty. Those animals deserve to have a family who cares for them and looks after them, just like Bella did. But as a nation, we are neglecting the animals in our family. Every state needs to pass a moratorium on animal farms and slaughterhouses. This is the first step towards getting rid of this industry and restoring a right relationship with the animals in our collective family. I used to think that this kind of change was impossible, that the violence happening to animals every day was inevitable and permanent. But now I see the opposite is true. An end to this industry is what's inevitable, because this industry has driven our planet and our ecosystem to the brink, and it's going to end one way or another. We have a choice right now. Either we build a new food system without violence against animals and put an end to this violence, or it will end us.
That was DXC investigator Aiden Cook speaking about this investigation and the findings that we exposed at Whole Foods, a Whole Foods supplying Colorado lamb farm. And I'm going to show you the other activist over here who's still in the ice. Nico, how are you feeling, Nico?
I'm fucking cold.
Yeah.
It's just like, but this is like, 10, 15 minutes.
Uh-huh.
Watching that video this morning of that rescue, of that investigation, I can't honestly comprehend what those individuals are going through.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I know that this is going to end in 15 minutes. They don't. They suffer in their 6 months of short life, babies, just babies without their mothers before their brutal slaughter. So I can do this every day, all day, and would gladly do this for the rest of my life to free those individuals.
Well, I'm glad you're only doing it for 15 minutes, Nico, because I don't want you to die. But oh my God, you're shaking. All right, get out when you need to, because I don't want anyone getting injured. So Nico and Aiden are still in this ice water, and there's 15 activists taking the plunge today to get in these ice tubs. So we're just 2 in. I'm gonna cross back over to this side and show you.
Animals want to be free.
All these activists
Animals want to
are out here with one question: what is Whole Foods hiding? And that's a rhetorical question, because we know what they're hiding. We know the animal cruelty that they are hiding, because DXC has investigated their farms throughout the country. Time and time again, we find animals suffering in agony. And in this case, we found baby animals who were outside in the freezing cold. And that's why activists are taking this action today, to draw attention to that in a very bold way. Sometimes our own suffering can draw attention to issues more than our mere words can. So I'm very grateful that people are willing to take on this sacrifice today, to lie in tubs of ice and expose these conditions. We have dozens of activists out here today taking action, but we can reach even more people with your help. So please, thank you for joining the action online, and please also share this live stream to help us reach more people with these conditions we expose at a Whole Foods farm. Whole Foods is lying, and we need your help exposing the truth. So please share this live stream, and you can also sign the petition at nomorefactoryfarms.com. Do it for the animals like Helen who were rescued, and do it to support the activists today who are taking action, putting their bodies into freezing tubs of ice to expose the conditions. And yeah, it is a little odd, and you might be surprised to see something like this, but we have to get creative, we have to get innovative, we have to take bold action when we're being ignored every which way. Whole Foods are restraining everywhere, keep us from exposing their lies.
They say that animals are treated humanely, that they live on pasture, that they are cage-free. But all of those things are a lie, because there is no humane way to exploit someone for profit. There's no humane way to take someone to a slaughterhouse and kill them and sell their flesh for profit. And Whole Foods hides all of this because they know that you care about animals. If you didn't care, they wouldn't have to lie. But they do this to make you feel better and to make money, when in fact, they're abusing animals, they're abusing workers, they're destroying the planet. And in this instance, what we found at this farm that supplied Whole Foods was animals freezing to death in -10 degrees Fahrenheit, left outside, literally convulsing because it was so cold. Eyes bursting open because it was so cold, dying in the snow. That is what Whole Foods calls humane. If you're angry at what Whole Foods is doing, if you're angry at being lied to, I urge you to take action. Because the system can change only if we act together. We can change this. We can demand better. We can hold corporations accountable. We can prevent the expansion of factory farming and then shut this entire industry down. Because it's not food. It's violent. It's not food. It's violent.
Curtis, how are you doing? Are you okay?
Yeah, it's all right. It's kind of annoying after about 10-15 minutes, but it's nothing compared to what the animals are going through. Especially the animals that were found on that farm. Like, having your eyeball freeze to death and burst open, that's just disgusting. And, like, to think that this is happening right now is absolutely insane. Like, what are we doing? Why are we doing this? And why is Whole Foods lying about it as well? None of this makes any sense.
Well, thanks for taking action today in the ice.
Their freedom, not ours. Their lives, their children.
I'm going to pass this to Priya then. I'll be right back. So I'm going to speak as well. So I'm going to have Priya hold this for a second. Can you hold this for a minute, Priya? And I think you just click it to turn it. Oh, it's already turned on.
Animals do not want to die. Don't fight. minute to imagine, to put ourselves in their shoes, which we can't do because we can't understand how much suffering that is. But let's take a moment to imagine what it feels like to be outside in negative 10-degree weather in the snow with your friend dying around you.
No.
You feel sick because most of these animals are sick in some way. Maybe you have injuries. Some of these animals around you, they can't walk because many of their legs are injured and they can't even move. No one is coming to help you. Our friends are getting a towel, and that's great. They deserve to get warm and get a towel, but imagine being these lambs in the middle of the night and no one is helping you, and you know you're going to be here freezing until potentially you die here. Or if not, you get taken to a slaughterhouse and you die there. But now imagine that that's happening, not to you right now at this age, but to you as a little baby. You're 6 months old because these lambs are killed when they're just 6 months old and they're still babies. They're not even sheep yet. They are lambs. These lambs that we think of as a symbol of innocence that are so sweet and beautiful and pure, they are being kept outside to freeze as babies. And Aiden said if we treated the animals in our homes the way that corporations like Whole Foods treat these lambs, we would be in prison. Well, if we treated our human 6-month-old babies this way, that is absolutely true too. This is abuse of children, it's abuse of animals, and it's abuse of our own values that corporations like Whole Foods are telling us to imagine something completely different. So that's why activists are taking action today, lying in these tubs of ice to help all of you, to help the police officers over here who are complicit in this system, and to help the public who maybe hasn't had a chance to think about this yet. Imagine what's really happening to animals every day. Live. Just like us. Lambs get scared. Lambs want to be with their babies. Lambs want to be safe.
It's not true. It's not real. It's not true. Here, buddy. Here, thinking.
How are you doing, Carla?
Look at you.
Here in this place, this excruciating. I can't fathom what the poor babies that don't even know what's going on, freezing slowly over time, is just unthinkable. Absolutely unthinkable.
Well, thank you for being out here.
Do not fly. Animals fly.
Animals do not want to die.
Put the air, buddy. Air, family. Air, freedom. Air, baby. But what do we want?
And down in the third tub, we have Sanjeev. Sanjeev is an awesome activist who's always willing to sacrifice, whether it's fasting or freezing or marching 150 miles. Sanjeev's always taking action. How are you feeling, Sanjeev?
What do the animals want?
Do you think you can last 5 minutes?
Are we going to fight for it?
Oh, poor Sanjeev.
One, struggle, one, fight.
Human freedom, animal rights.
Same, struggle, same, fight.
Human freedom, animal rights.
One, struggle, one, fight.
Human freedom, animal rights.
Same, struggle, same, fight.
Human freedom, animal rights.
Because there's no excuse.
For animal abuse.
There's never an excuse.
For animal abuse.
Tough is no excuse.
So if you haven't yet, please share this live stream. Animals are suffering at Whole Foods Farms right now, and we need to take action to end their lives and stop the violence and protect all these animals.
Not food, it's violence.
Killing babies is no kindness.
It's not food, it's violence.
Separating families is no kindness.
It's not food, it's violence.
Because it's not food.
It's violence.
So if you missed the beginning of this live stream, we have a couple dozen activists out at Whole Foods in Noe Valley in San Francisco today. And we are taking action in response to the publication this morning of a new DXC investigation exposing horrific conditions at a lamb farm that supplied to Whole Foods. And these animals, they're just babies. They're 6 months old when they're slaughtered. They are experiencing freezing conditions. And that's what we're trying to draw attention to the way they're kept outside with no shelter, with no care, just left there to suffer. And that's why these activists are bravely lying in tubs of ice to draw attention to that, to lie in solidarity with the animals. We have 15 activists doing that today in these 3 tubs, 5 rounds of people. And we've had a lot of activists already, and here's Carla again.
Okay, so people go ahead and speak now.
Now we're switching to the next set of people. So now Ali's gonna take the plunge.
You have to forgive me for reading from my phone. I have to hear on the speakerphone. After 4 years, the investigatory footage released. The horror started happening.
How's it feel, Ali?
Animals,
I mean, I just got in, and it feels like daggers, honestly. Like I'm just being stabbed from every direction. I can't imagine how long it takes to die this way, but it's cruel right now.
Thank you for taking action. Ali said she just got in and already feels like daggers.
Cold water that was supposed to be as cold as the Atlantic Ocean that night. Freezing cold, in fact. Strange to think it's almost treated like an interactive science museum, something fun, an amusement park activity as people dare each other to stick their hands in the water that was so cold it killed hundreds of people. It always seemed like such a horrific way to die. Frozen. So cold that your heart literally gave out. The National Institute of Health, Office of Laboratory Animal Welfare, states that when testing on lab animals, the examples they give are dogs, rats, cats, chimpanzees. Oh, and there's a 27-minute training video on the dogs, if anyone wants to watch government-sanctioned torture of man's best friend. The National Institute of Health states, unless the contrary is established, investigators should consider that procedures...
Are you meditating? You look like you're practicing some breathing exercises. Yeah.
May cause pain or distress in other animals.
Good. Thanks for taking action.
So basically, our government...
The breathing exercises are helping? Yeah, great.
That these animals do not experience pain when inflicting something upon them we know would be painful to humans. It would be considered unlawful. It is torture. This is the fate we human beings, desperate for money and power, condemn so many of these poor non-human animals to. Millions upon billions upon trillions of sentient beings, every single year sentenced to torture, sentenced to death. And the others we shoot in the head and stab in the throat. Why would we have any reason to believe animals can't experience this pain and suffering in the exact same way that we as human beings do? To quote our own government again, unless the contrary is established,
how are you doing, Susanna?
So
humans every day, every night, and I go to the suffering of the
Yeah.
cold weather. So I'm absolutely great.
Thank you.
Compared to the animals, it's super cool.
Susanna's super great compared to the animals. That's true, considering how much they're suffering and how much the workers are suffering, having to be in this exploitative industry. Susanna is always the optimist, and she is great compared to them.
Whole Foods needs to stop the humane lie and join us.
Them are just putting themselves in the headspace of the animals and remembering that what they're going through is not as bad as what the animals are going through. Holding their signs high to expose Whole Foods lies about how animals are treated on their farms.
It's not food, it's violence.
Not ours.
Not ours.
Not freedom.
Not ours.
Not left.
Not ours.
Not left.
Not ours.
Not milk.
Not ours.
Not honey. Cows deserve to be free.
Just like us!
Pigs deserve to be free.
Just like us!
Chickens deserve to be free.
Just like us!
Chickens deserve to be free.
Just like us!
Turkeys want to be free.
Just like us!
What do we want?
Animal liberation!
When do we want it?
Now!
Are we gonna fight for it?
Yes!
Are we gonna get it?
Yes!
One struggle, one fight.
Human freedom, animal rights!
Animals' lives are their right.
So activists are still out in these tubs of ice. We've had so many activists who are willing to step up and take this action, to take action in solidarity with the animals who are suffering in the freezing cold right now at farms across the country. When this farm was investigated, it was a Whole Foods supplier, and we know that Whole Foods denies that these kinds of conditions happen at their farms. But this is just a marketing ploy, just to try to set themselves apart from the competition and to charge more money. They act like they do better, but I have been to Whole Foods farms and seen hens inside of cages. Although Whole Foods says that they don't use cages in any of their farms. That's the GAP level 1, the very first level of their GAP welfare program. And DXE has investigated a Whole Foods farm at the very top of the GAP welfare program, step 5 plus. Diesel Turkey Farm, GAP 5 plus. Activists investigated this farm and found extremely sick and injured and suffering turkeys getting no medical care. I mean, this is the kind of stuff that happens in animal agriculture routinely because it's not profitable to treat sick and injured animals. They stop being commercially profitable if you invest money treating them when they're sick. Then you don't get a return on your money. So animals who are sick and freezing and suffering, they don't get help. At least these activists taking action today get help. They get to go home, they get a towel, they get to dry off when they get out of these tubs. The animals never get that.
Cows deserve to be free.
Just like us!
Pigs deserve to be happy.
Just like us!
Chickens deserve to have law.
Just like us!
Chickens deserve to be free.
Just like us!
We're getting some fresh ice over here to keep it getting cold. Colder and colder.
Are we gonna fight for it? Are we gonna get it? One struggle, one fight.
Just like Wim Hof, huh?
Animals' lives are their right.
One more.
Animals aren't doing it from
I know, yeah, exactly.
Unfortunately, they have to play.
So,
They have to,
Please don't, stay longer.
well, you know, that we kind of stay as long as we can. Just to show solidarity with animals who are suffering. All while these companies make billions of dollars, and then they have the police at their beck and they're guarding billionaire profits and suffering and violence. They're not guarding anything. Just yeah, you
Michelle is doing some outreach right there. Sir, could I ask you what you think about the protest? Interesting. And do you know what it's about?
Yes.
The lambs that are freezing? Thank you so much. Well, it is interesting. It's definitely not something you see every day when you're out and about in San Francisco, although you see a lot of interesting things in San Francisco. You don't usually see activists lying in ice baths with "What is Whole Foods hiding?" signs exposing freezing conditions at factory farms. But that's what we're out here doing today, and even more activists are taking the plunge. So here's Almira Tanner in the ice bath practicing some breathing exercises.
Remember?
I want to ask Almira how she's feeling, but I don't want to interrupt her breathing, so she can't breathe, she says, so I'm just going to keep moving on.
How long has it been? I don't know how long she's been here. I'm gonna keep a timer. How long?
Just like us!
No, but how long?
Just like us!
So some activists are really struggling to stay in the water for 5 minutes. It's incredibly cold. More ice just got added, so it's freshly cooled down. And here's Omar, who I think looks like he's meditating.
One struggle, one fight.
Human freedom, animal rights.
Animal lives are their right.
We have just begun to fight.
Don't buy the free.
Omar, how does it feel for you? Are you okay?
Good.
Don't buy the human line.
I can't believe that we put animals through
Don't buy the organic lies.
this. So cool.
Don't buy the cage-free line.
Omar says it's freezing cold and he can't imagine that animals live like that for a lot longer than several minutes. And that's just because we don't prioritize their health or well-being, and we don't step in to help. In this case, DXC investigators did step in and rescue an animal from the brink of death who was freezing in the cold, named her Helen, took her to the vet and to the sanctuary where she lives today. But for most of these animals, no one is coming to help them. And that is terrifying. That people could be suffering like this without any help. Helen, who is here, Ali is still in the ice. Ali, how does it feel now that more ice got added on?
I'm wondering how much longer until it would kill me and how that compares to the lambs. This is a really horrible way to go. It's completely not humane. And they're babies that were just brought into the world.
Thank you for taking action. That is really hard to imagine how long it would take an individual to die from this kind of freezing conditions. You know, it's hard enough to imagine how that feels for a few minutes or for a day or overnight, but we cannot imagine how it would feel to be in that temperature, -10 degrees, until you die, until your organs fail, your heart stops because you're just too numb, too frozen. Nelson, are you taking the plunge? You got this. You got this, Nelson. Thank you for taking action.
It's not food. It's not food. Killing is no kindness.
I think I have to leave.
Taking babies away is no kindness.
It's not food, it's violence.
Killing is no kindness.
So Omar got out and is drying off, and so Manu is going to be getting into this tub here.
Their babies.
Not ours.
Their freedom.
Not ours.
Their families.
I don't want to look like
So if you haven't shared the live stream yet, please click share, tag your friends, comment, share in any groups that you're in. We need to get the word out about this investigation because Whole Foods is lying to people. They're probably lying to your friends and family who might shop there and pay more money for something that they think is more humane. But the truth is there's no humane way to raise animals for food. Animals are not food. They deserve to live. They deserve to be free. They shouldn't be freezing to death. They shouldn't be experiencing that.
What's the San Francisco one? When do they want it? What do the animals need? When do they need it? Are we gonna fight for it?
Yes.
Are we gonna get it?
Yes.
One struggle, one fight.
Human freedom, animal rights.
Sing, struggle, sing, fight.
Human freedom, animal rights.
One struggle, one fight.
Human freedom, animal rights.
Sing, struggle, sing, fight.
Human freedom, animal rights.
Because it's not food.
It's violence.
It's not meat.
It's violence.
It's not humane.
It's violence.
It's not free range.
It's violence.
It's animals.
Adding more ice.
Just like us.
Animals love their babies.
Just like us.
Animals want to live.
Just like us.
Animals want to be free.
Just like us.
So it's not food.
It's violence.
It's not humane.
It's violence.
It's not love.
It's
Let's go check on Nelson again and see how they're holding up.
No, it's here.
Are you okay, Nelson?
No, this is terrible.
You're doing it.
I have this real one. They're getting to like the corner now. I'm just like being in the cold myself. Is, oh god, I grew up in the tropics, so just like I've never felt true cold. As close as I possibly got to the.
By the police who are getting all across this floor. But I have one question. Why are the police protecting corporations and billionaires who are contributing to environmental degradation and freezing innocent animals to death? I will be out of here in less than 5 minutes. My suffering is nothing compared to what Whole Foods on Becky is labeled. How are we as a reality? It is infuriating that like my friends who are going inside of these places, exposing animal abuse, exposing corporate fraud, exposing environmental degradation, are facing felony charges and prison time. Well, Whole Foods and Jeff Bezos and Amazon get police protection.
that infuriates me. That fills my heart with so much fire that I can't even feel the ice bath that I'm sitting in. Unacceptable. How dare these people who is suffering at the hands of corporate abuse. It's not food.
It's violence.
It's not food.
It's violence.
It's not right, and it's not food. It's violence.
All right. All right. I got it. I'm so glad this
That was Priya Sahani, an investigator with DXC who has been to Whole Foods farms like many of us have and has seen with her own eyes the suffering of these victims in these facilities. And it is unacceptable for Whole Foods to be profiting off of that cruelty and exploitation while calling it humane. So that's why we're out here today. That's why all these activists are willing to put their bodies into difficult situations like this to expose the truth that Whole Foods isn't willing to tell you. And we need your help to reach more people with this. So please, if you haven't yet, share this live stream, share it in a different group if you've already shared it. Let's keep getting it out there, and follow Direct Action Everywhere on Facebook. It's just Direct Action Everywhere -DXE, and you can find the investigation video on that page as well. What? I don't know. If there are more people who want to go in, then they can go in. We've gone through all the people who were volunteering already. I know some people are brave enough. They said that they would get back in now that their shift is done and their bodies have warmed up again. Almira, it was so difficult. You're gonna go back in. Oh gosh, it makes me cold just looking at you. I get cold going in a regular temperature pool.
That's the trial. I love that he's also thinking about
She got back in.
So when you're in here, like all you can think about is getting out, and like everything I'm thinking about is like I'm gonna get out of here. I'm gonna get out of here. And just thinking like that's not an option for me. I'm not being dramatic with my voice. Like that's literally like I can't breathe. But just thinking like, okay, in a minute I'm gonna be able to get out of here. And those sheets, they're like, oh, what is this? I'm like watching and like down around. I'm like, I can't even imagine what that must feel like. Like these things are starting to lose and my fingers and my toes, and there's warm drinks waiting for me outside. And just thinking, this is why Whole Foods is saying humane. This is what's happening to animals across the U.S. It's fun, and they're not doing anything to protect animals. That's why we need people to take action.
Almira is all willing to sacrifice, whether it's fasting or marching 150 miles or getting into an ice hub multiple times, even though she cannot wait to get out. We need people to step up like that, and we need people to take on all kinds of roles to expose corporations like Whole Foods. You're someone who can, write an op-ed, then write an op-ed about this. If you're someone who can protest, then protest. And if you're at home, there are still so many ways to help from your computer. And I'll just say again, one of the easiest things that you can do is to share this live stream. So I'm gonna just go a little bit down the street here so I can just talk to all of you from over here. So here's the activists down there, and yeah, I just want to say thank you so much to everybody who's watching this live stream and who's sharing and who's commenting, because leading DXC's communications committee, I am so grateful to everyone who joins our actions online and everyone who makes it possible for these investigations to be seen by millions of people. Your help is absolutely crucial. So if you can show this investigation to someone who still eats lambs or who still shops at Whole Foods and thinks that everything there is A-okay, that is what we need. We need these investigations to get out there, and you can help us make that happen. And I'm not saying don't shop at Whole Foods. Maybe that's the choice you make to keep your actions in line with your values. But ultimately, what we're asking today is not a boycott. What we want is is for people to rise up against the system, to take action like these activists are doing. Maybe for you, it doesn't mean getting in an ice bath. Maybe it means, you know, talking to people, sharing this, voting for animal legislation, you know, just spreading the word. Maybe you're a video editor, you can make your own videos. Maybe you're a social media influencer and you can share those posts. Maybe you can do a speak out at a protest or challenge yourselves to step up in some way. That's what we're asking for today, is to spread this word and to get people to take action against corporations like Whole Foods. All these activists behind me, they are so brave stepping in this ice water, but they only do it because they know people like you support them. So please share this live stream and take action whatever ways you can. I'm going to show you the protest again.
Animal flag on your right. We are justified to fight. Don't buy the human life. Animals do not want to die. Don't buy the Whole Foods life.
So this tub's dumped now.
Don't buy Amazon's life. Animals do not want to die. Humane slaughter is a lie. Animals do not want to die. Freedom for all. Justice for animals. Freedom for all. Justice for animals. Freedom for all. Justice for animals. They feel bad. Just like us. They have friends. Just like us. They get scared. Just like us. They want to live. Just like us. No more oppression. There's no excuse for animal abuse. There's no excuse for animal abuse. Money's no excuse for animal abuse. Slavery's no excuse for animal abuse. Slaughterhouses, shut them down. Slaughterhouses, shut them down. Factory farms, shut them down. Hey, hey. Ho, ho. Factory farms have got to go. Hey, hey. Ho, ho. Factory farms have got to go. It's not food. It's violence. It's not food. It's violence. It's not science. It's violence. It's not beauty. It's violence. It's not fashion. It's violence. It's not entertainment. It's violence. Killing is no kindness. It's not food. It's violence. We're going. Not ours.
Are you all warmed up? No? It's still cold?
Trying to stand in the sun, we're privileged to do that. There's other beings that don't get that privilege.
Thank you, Omar.
Just like
So activists are warming up. The animals don't get that opportunity. They are suffering and cold until the day that they die or are slaughtered. And these are the conditions that we're exposing today. You can see some of the activists holding photos with the lambs who were found at this Whole Foods supplying farm, and leafleters giving out information about our campaign for no more factory farms. We're done with these sorts of places of violence. We don't need systemic abuse. We don't need to brew the next pandemic. We don't need corporations to deceive us like Whole Foods is doing and Amazon is doing. We're done. We've had enough. No more factory farms. Sign the petition at nomorefactoryfarms.com. Our action today is coming to a close, but we're going to keep taking action. We're never going to stop until the animals are free. Whole Foods has filed a restraining order against us. Activists, including myself, are facing felony charges for exposing animal cruelty at these farms, and we're not going to stop. Restraining orders and felony charges aren't going to make us stop when we know that what we are doing is right. Helping animals is right. Exposing corporate deception is the right thing to do. I hope you'll join us in this fight, because we can only do it with help from people like you.
Slaughterhouses, shut them down. Factory farms, shut them down. No more factory farms. 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 Hey, hey, ho, ho. Factory farms have got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho. Factory farms have got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho. Factory farms have got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho. Factory farms have got to go. It's not food. It's violence. It's not food. It's violence. It's not science. It's violence. It's not beauty. It's violence. It's not entertainment. It's violence. Killing is no kindness. It's not their bodies.
So Whole Foods is pretty sick of us At this point, they want us to go home. They want us to not come back, but they're used to us by now. We're going to keep taking action. We're out here. We're familiar faces to these Whole Foods in the Bay Area and in other parts of the world because activists are on the rise, and investigations are on the rise, and rescues are on the rise, and our movement is growing. And right now, in the midst of this pandemic, you know, this is an opportunity to explain to people how we can avoid this situation in the future, how there is one thing we can do that is going to help prevent pandemics. It's going to help animals who are suffering. It's going to help the environment. It's going to protect the rainforest that we have left. It's going to decrease pollution in our water and in our air. It's going to make all of us happier and more free in our hearts and our minds. And that one thing that we can do is to end animal agriculture. And it's not a pipe dream, okay? We have created a mass industrial system of torture and exploitation and murder, and we can also end it. So if you're with us, then please sign the petition, share the live stream. And yeah, we're just going to be marching back to our briefing location now. So I'm going to end the live stream unless Matt wants to pull up the investigation video that launched this whole action, and maybe we can show you the specific action that or the specific investigation that came out this morning and pull it up on the Facebook page. But we're all just going to march back now. So yeah, take it away whenever. And thank you so much, everyone, for joining.
Animals do not want to die.
Don't buy Whole Foods lie.
Animals do not want to die.
It's not food.
It's violence.
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 Don't buy Whole Foods lie.
Animals do not want to die.
Don't buy Whole Foods lie.
Animals do not want to die.
Animals want to live.
Can I help with anything?
What?
I think it's just my